Hello everybody, this is Michelle Fox and welcome to the Simple Quilter. I'm excited to be filming today because I have a brand new video camera and I'm really hoping it's going to improve the video quality of my videos because that is something I've really been struggling with. Today's project is a great beginner project and it's going to also be a fun, fast, and easy project for the more experienced quilter. Today's project is one of a two-part series. We're going to be making the top of a table runner or wall hanging if you want, and it's a pumpkin table runner, and it's this one right behind me. I think it's just beautiful. I love the bright colors. I typically pick more muted colors, but I chose brighter colors with the white background. You will have a little room to be creative and decide what you want to do with your project today. You can do vertical pumpkins with vertical lines, diagonal. I really like the diagonal lines. Or you can do one with horizontal lines. So there will be a little room for creativity today. I want to go over the materials quickly. You're going to need some basic materials that we've talked about in the past. You're going to need some acrylic rulers. I'll be using a 4.5 inch, a 12.5 inch, and my 8.5 by 24.5 inch ruler, my rotary cutter, straight pins for pinning. You'll need an iron and an ironing mat, your sewing machine with whatever thread you want to sew with, and then also you'll need a marking pencil, and then I use just a regular ruler to mark the pieces. Well, for today you're going to need two additional supplies, and one is a fabric glue stick. This is specifically for fabric. A basic Elmer's glue stick will not work and will damage your fabric, so please be sure you purchase a fabric glue stick. I have purchased these at Missouri Star Quilt Company online, or I have purchased some at the local quilt shops too. So you just need to be sure it's fabric because it's water soluble and you'll be able to remove the papers. And then also we're going to use these 10-inch foundation squares, and I purchased those from Missouri Star Quilt Company. I love using these. They make beautiful simple quilts, and I just love doing these things. So okay, let's talk a little bit about the fabric requirements. I just went to my scrap bins and I pulled out browns, bright yellows, bright greens, and oranges. And I think that you can see those there. I picked out several different fabrics in the bins. There's different patterns. So you just need to pick out a variety of fabrics in the colors that you like for your pumpkin, your stem, your leaf, and then the yellow will be used in the outer border. Okay, so you need 2-inch strips in a variety of sizes. The sizes will range from 5 inches to 15 inches, so they'll be 2 by 5 clear up to 2 by 15 inches. Out of the assorted colors, you're also going to need 3 2-inch squares in brown, and I picked three different fabrics. You're also going to need 3 2-inch squares in green, and again I picked different fabric because I wanted each pumpkin to look a little bit different. Now my background fabric is white, and you will need to cut 4 2-inch strips the width of the fabric, and you will need to cut 2 by 29.5 inch strips. You will need to cut 4 2 by 9.5 inch strips. You will need to cut 3 2 by 3.5 inch strips. You'll need 15 2-inch squares, and you're going to need 6 1-inch squares. And that will get us through the top of making the quilt. Now the first thing I'm going to show you just quickly, we have to draw a diagonal line on 12 of the 2-inch background squares. So you're just going to put your ruler from corner to corner and get a marking pencil. I'm using the sew line one that I've mentioned in my previous videos, and you're just going to mark a line. And then we're going to do the same thing on all 6 of the 1-inch squares, and be sure you're marking these lines on the back of the fabric. Alright, so there's my lines. The next thing I want to show you is how to use these foundation papers. Okay, I'm going to take my glue stick. I'm just about out of glue with this one, and you're just going to run just a thin strip. You don't have to get it really thick. You're just going to run a thin strip right down the middle of that fabric, and I am doing the diagonal layout, so we're gonna do that one first. Okay, and you're just gonna take your fabric piece. The first one needs to be about 14.5 to 15 inches, and you're just gonna lay it right across there, and you are going to just smooth that down. Then you're going to take a second strip, and it can be a little bit smaller, maybe 14 inches, and all these strips again are 2 inches, are just 2-inch strips. You're going to lay it just like that, and you're going to go to your sewing machine, and you're going to sew 1/4 of an inch, just straight down there. Okay, then it should look like this, and you're going to take it to the ironing mat. Now this is not on. I'm just going to show you how this is done. You're just going to take it to your ironing mat, and you're just going to press that nice and get that seam set. You do not want to use steam on this because it will cause the paper to get all wrinkled and shriveled and shrink. You can do a little finger press there, and then you're just going to take it and you're just going to press it. Okay, you're just going to press it all the way out there. Then you're going to take a third strip of a different fabric, and you're going to put that there, line it up there, and you're going to sew a 1/4 of an inch seam right down the edge there. Then you're going to press it open like you did the others, and it's going to look like this. And you're just going to continue adding pieces just like that until the entire square is covered. So it will end up looking like this. Okay? You can see the paper on the back side. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to trim this up. Now we're going to trim it, and we're going to make sure that we're not cutting the paper. We're going to go right on the outside of that paper. We don't want to make it smaller yet. We're just going to trim that fabric down. And then you are going to tear these off. You're just going to fold them and tear them off. Now here is a tip. I should have told you this before you started sewing, but I use a large denim size needle because it makes a large perforated hole, and then I decrease the stitch size to 1.5 on my machine. A quilt friend shared that tip with me, and it just makes it easier to tear these off. They just come right off. Okay, and you're just going to fold it, give a little crease, and just gently pull it off. And you're going to do that for the entire block. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to trim this down to an 8-inch square. That's the size we're going to need for our pumpkin. Now be careful not to mess these pieces up because I'm going to show you how to do a little bonus project with those. Alright, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take our marked 2-inch squares and we're going to put them in the corner. See, our diagonal lines are going that way. We're going to put them in the corners. One's going to go in each corner. Right. And then we're just going to sew right on that line and trim that off and press it back. And this is called snowballing a block. We're also going to do that with the 2-inch square. The 2-inch green square and the 1-inch squares that we marked. We're going to lay the fabric down. We're going to put the squares on top. We're going to sew a diagonal line. We're going to trim 1/4 of an inch. We're going to trim that off just like this. And then we're going to take our iron and we're just going to press it. Now, some people finger press these. That doesn't usually work very good for me, so I've had to do this one and I pressed it with the iron. So I went ahead and went to my machine and I sewed on those lines, or just under those lines. I'm going to trim those off, and then I'm just going to give those a little press. Alright, so there's the base of our pumpkin. Then we're going to take our 2 by 3.5 inch square, our stem piece, our little leaf, and just the little white square, and we're going to sew those together. Okay, then I'm just going to give that a quick press down. And there's our pumpkin, and we're going to need to make 3 of these. Okay, now I've decided to use all 3 different pumpkins. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take our 2 by 9.5 inch pieces. We're just going to lay them between there. We're going to sew those up. Just like that. So there we have our 3 pumpkins sewn together. Now we're going to take the 29.5 inch piece for the first border. We're going to put that right along. We're going to sew that along the top. And then we're going to take the second 29.5 inch piece and we're going to sew that to the bottom. But I'm going to show you how to do the piece border. Okay? So what I do is I just took the different colors that I had. I started with brown, and then I did orange. I want the strips to be pretty much close to the same size. They don't have to be perfect, but alright. And then I took green and yellow. And I used several different browns, several different oranges, greens, and yellows, and I just kind of mixed them all up and made these strips of 4 colors. Those are not the sharpest scissors for cutting. They're good snips, but there we go. Okay, so I just took these, sewed them down there, pressed them open. Took these, sewed them down there, pressed them open, and then I sewed these 2 strips to these 2 strips. Okay? And that gave me a strip like this. Alright, so I believe this is 10 inches. 10 inches. So I just moved it back 2 inches every time. And then I just did subcuts. And this is what made my piece border. I'll just pick up one and then I'll sew it and attach it to that one. sew it and attach it, pick up another one, sew it and attach it, and then I'll show you in just a few minutes how I put that last border on. So I want to show you how this last border goes on. Now I had explained earlier that I took the 4 strips and sewed those together to make a strip of 4, and then I sewed the strips of 4 together. Now on the sides, you just need to put 2 of the 4 strips together. So you're going to need 8 squares there, and you're going to need 8 squares on the other end. Then across the bottom, well, let's do the top first. Across the top, you're going to need 21 of the 2-inch squares sewn together, and you're going to have 1 extra. So when I was cutting fabric, I did cut some extras, and it'll be easy for you to go back and just cut a 2-inch square in the color you need. So when I come to the corners, I try not to do 2 colors together, like a green and a green or a brown and a brown. So then when I put the bottom strip on, I'm going to put a green right there. So I'm going to get a green 2-inch square, and then I'm just going to add that right there. So I'm going to sew the side piece borders on, and then I'm going to sew the tops on, and I'll press those, and the top will be done. So I'll get that sewn, and then I'll show you the final product. Okay, so as you can see, I put the piece border on, the sides first, then the top. Be sure to nest those seams when you pin so that those come out nice and neat. I did give it a final press so that it's laying flat. So on my next video, I will be showing you how to machine quilt this table runner, as well as put the binding on, and that will finish that up, and we should have a completed project after the next video. I'll also show you how to do the little bonus project and what the bonus project will be. If you like the video today, please hit the like button. If you'd like to subscribe and join me again, please do that. But most of all, leave a comment. That helps guide my content and helps me know what you as viewers need more of or need less of. So until next time, have fun quilting.